Kevin Porter Jr. is in NYPD custody, 17th precinct in Manhattan, after an incident at a hotel near Times Square. His girlfriend and left her with at least one broken bone and bruising.
Before we start, I just have to make it completely clear that these are allegations. Everything in this video is alleged. We're gonna assume that the allegations have some degree of truth to it just for the sake of analysis, but there is a chance that they aren't. So just a huge disclaimer there. If you guys could leave a like on this content, it's probably gonna get demonetized due to the nature of the information. And now that we got all of that out of the way, cue the intro. Brings a huge smile to my face. Bam, 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 bam. You guys are making bank on Prize Picks. I absolutely love it. Week 1 was a huge success for a lot of you guys. And we're gonna keep it going, man. Each and every day, I post my picks for free on my Instagram story at TheFlightMike. And we're gonna feature the best slips on this channel each and every week. So submit them to me via Instagram DMs if you want to be featured. And if you haven't started playing Prize Picks, you use my promo code microphone and they'll match your initial deposit when you sign up on Prize Picks. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Kevin Porter Jr. was considered to be one of the most talented players in the 2019 NBA draft. But you might be thinking,
Mike, you went in the end of the first round of the NBA draft.
as a matter of fact, Kevin Porter Jr. was the last pick of the first round of the NBA draft by the Milwaukee Bucks. Then he was immediately traded to the Detroit Pistons, and then a week later, he was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right off the bat, there was instability in Kevin Porter Jr.'s career. You might be wondering why. He was one of those players that were branded as someone with character issues, which means he could have all the talent in the world, but he could get in his own way if he doesn't keep his head straight, if he doesn't keep focused or locked in, or if he isn't in the right environment to make sure he's focused on making millions and millions of dollars to play basketball. Now, we saw this almost immediately. Kevin Porter Jr. would debut with the Cleveland Cavaliers on October 23rd, and it seemed like almost immediately he would find himself in trouble. He would get suspended a week later for improperly making contact with a referee, and he would finally get his first start on November 19th versus the New York Knicks, and he would drop 18 points in 31 minutes. Very impressive for a guy that was drafted at the end of the first round. Now, he would only start in 3 games for the Cleveland Cavaliers, but he would play in 50 of them. He would average 10 points per game off of 44% shooting. He would shoot 34% from 3. For that offseason, he would find himself in some trouble again. Kevin Porter would get charged by the Mahoning County Police following a single car accident for the improper handling of a firearm in a vehicle. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What's up with the 2019 NBA draft class and firearms? I have no idea. At the time, the Cavaliers said that they were aware of the situation and they were in the process of gathering information, which, by the way, some foreshadowing. It's something you're going to see later on in this video. They spoke to Kevin and will continue to address this privately with him as the related process evolved. Luckily for Porter, he was not indicted on a felony gun charge. Rather, there were misdemeanor charges of driving without a license, but those were also dropped. Now, so far up until this point, there wasn't anything too crazy going on with Kevin Porter Jr. until January of 2021, which is really unfortunate because he was on a very up-and-coming team with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but there was a particular night where Kevin Porter Jr. was working his way back from being away from the team for personal reasons, where he got into a gigantic shouting match with team officials after his locker was moved to a new area so they could accommodate a brand new forward, Taurean Prince. Now, Taurean Prince arrived in Cleveland with Jarrett Allen in a trade the week prior, and after this happened, Kevin Porter Jr. was told to clean out his locker, and other members of the roster were informed that he'd no longer be on the team. So it seems like there's some hot-headedness here, based upon my analysis. I mean, obviously, you probably feel some type of way. I'm just feeling empathetic towards Kevin Porter Jr. You had a bumpy start to your career. You had this one firearm incident, which thankfully charges were dropped, and then you go go back to report to your team, which you've been away from for quite some time, and you find out that your team moved your locker to some like corner of the room to accommodate another player that was just brought in via trade in addition to Jarrett Allen. I'm not saying it's rationalized, I'm just saying that's where he's coming from. So the Cavaliers said as a result of this that they're going to either trade or waive Kevin Porter Jr. And ultimately they did. 3 days later, they traded Kevin Porter Jr. to the team that he's currently with, and that's the Houston Rockets. The Rockets really didn't have to give up much for him. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen a pick with this type of protection. There was a top 55 protected pick traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Kevin Porter Jr., which means this pick is never going to convey. It's just essentially a donation, if anything. And following that, things have been looking better for Kevin Porter Jr. Yes, don't get me wrong, it's not like the Houston Rockets were on the pinnacle of contention, but he was traded to a team that was really focused on his development, and he got heavy minutes at the shooting guard position. He would average 16.6 points per game ever since getting traded, and 15.6 points per game in his second year, and last year he kind of had a bit of a breakout, averaging 19.2 points per game off of 44% shooting and 37% from three. Now, this isn't necessarily the highest efficiency type scoring, but it was the very first time that he had an OBPM that was positive, and he's not that big of a defensive liability. His value over replacement player is actually a 1.3, so he's a very productive player. The best part of this is the fact that the Houston Rockets actually signed Kevin Porter Jr. to a huge contract extension, a 4-year, $72.6 million rookie extension last October, which solidifies him as a major piece of their core moving forward. And it's a remarkable contract for the Houston Rockets as well. A very cheap contract given the current state of the CBA. He's been trending upward, and he's currently 23 years old, going into a season that could make or break his career. There's a brand new head coach in town, and his name is Ime Udoka. The Houston Rockets made some very significant acquisitions in the offseason. Prior to this, the Houston Rockets were essentially the equivalent of an AAU team, at least in my opinion. You got a bunch of talented young men like Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, and Jabari Smith. All of these players have the potential to someday become all-stars. This team has the potential to become one of the best teams in the Western Conference when their time comes. They just need the proper guidance. So to make sure that there was proper mentorship in the locker room, they signed Dillon Brooks, which I praised personally. I thought obviously we're going to make the Dillon Brooks is going to China memes, but in terms of having a guy on your roster that is going to hold everyone in check, that is going to be the intimidator of your team, Dillon Brooks definitely checks off that box. And they also signed Fred VanVleet in the offseason. So this is a very big season for Kevin Porter Jr., and I don't think anyone is going to question that. Problem is, there was one big stipulation towards Kevin Porter being successful in the NBA, and that's that he doesn't get in his own way. It's that he doesn't sabotage his own career. Now again, I'm going to say this over and over again, these are allegations. So with that being said, Kevin Porter has been arrested, and the alleged charges that are being levied against him are really terrifying. I mean, they're truly terrible. This is Miles Bridges level of bad, in my opinion. Only in the case of Miles Bridges, there were actual images that supported what happened, which we can't show on this channel because, well, the video will probably get taken down. But we'll post it on my Instagram story, and we'll post all the explicit content we can't post here onto my Instagram story. In the case of Kevin Porter Jr., he was arrested on charges of assault and strangulation after an incident at a New York hotel Monday morning, according to a New York City police spokesman. Yeah, you guys know what strangulation means. It means he was choking someone. The person he was choking, this isn't gonna be good. Police responded to a 911 call reporting an assault at 6:45 a.m. and arrested Porter after an investigation. Both charges are felonies. Once again, Kevin Porter Jr. is facing a few charges, way more significant than any charge he had in the past. Way more significant. Honestly, I'd say this is career threatening, if anything. Now you might be wondering who was involved. Well, the incident involved Kevin Porter's girlfriend, a former WNBA player. So this is what the description says. It's truly horrific stuff. Really hate reading this stuff, and I hope to my heart of hearts it's not true. Upon arrival, officers were informed that 26-year-old female sustained a laceration to the right side of her face and was complaining about pain to her neck. That's pretty much fancy of saying that there was a gigantic cut to the right side of her face and she was feeling neck pain, quite possibly from the alleged strangulation. A preliminary investigation on scene determined that a known individual struck her multiple times upon her body and placed his hands around the neck. The woman was transported to the hospital for evaluation, the police spokesperson said, and the Houston Rockets responded to this, as we were mentioning before, very similar to what we heard with the Cleveland Cavaliers when Kevin Porter Jr. was in this situation. We are in the process of gathering information surrounding the matter involving Kevin Porter Jr. We have no further comment at this time. So we actually have footage of Kevin Porter Jr. being taken into custody. And on top of that, the victim's sister posted this onto Instagram. At Kevin Porter Jr., if you think you gone touch my sister and not get touched, count your days. Better hope and pray you'll be able to ever walk again, let alone dribble. You may have gone away with this in the past because your mama didn't beat you, but we spank little punk painting nail sissy like you every day. Don't show up to that crib. We're gonna do it to you, little. Now, if you're wondering who this person is, she might sound familiar. We made a video on her about 2 years ago on my NFL channel, Microphone. This woman actually got into an incident with the late Dwayne Haskins. If you guys remember, this was all the way back in July of 2021. She got arrested for knocking out Dwayne Haskins' tooth, busting his upper lip during a substantial bust up in Las Vegas where they went to celebrate their commitment to each other. So lots to unpack here, and I'm not saying one justifies the other. I just felt like there was a little bit of irony in this statement, and I would actually take her threats a little seriously as a result of her past. So this is really unfortunate. Kevin Porter Jr. signed an $82.5 million contract following the 2021 to 2022 season. This man's career was on an upward trajectory. $82.5 million in the state of Houston is no small chunk of change. Now, what could we expect to happen to Kevin Porter Jr.? Well, this is what Bobby Marks of ESPN, who's a front office insider, has to say about it. I would not expect any discipline against Kevin Porter Jr. until there is a full investigation by the NBA. The Houston Rockets can certainly tell Porter Jr. to stay away during training camp. Porter signed a 4-year, $72.6 million rookie extension last October. The league has a jurisdiction to void the contract under the provisions of the domestic violence policy. Here's the contract breakdown. From 2023 to 2024, $15.9 million is fully guaranteed, but in 2024 to 2025, only $1 million is guaranteed. Now, this increases to $3 million if Porter Jr. is not waived by the Rockets' first game of the 2023 to 2024 season. This increases to $6 million if he's not waived 5 days after the trade deadline, and this increases to $15.9 million if he's not waived by June 30th, 2024. So that's how it becomes fully guaranteed. Now, his next year is fully guaranteed if he's not waived on that same day for 2025 to 2026, and the year after is fully guaranteed if he's not waived by June 30th, 2025. So I give props to the Houston Rockets general manager. This contract is nothing but upside for the Rockets. You pretty much hold on to Kevin Porter Jr., and he has a partially guaranteed contract. It doesn't become fully guaranteed unless if it's absolutely worth it for them, and they have an out right now. They can get out of his contract for the 2024 to 2025 season if they waive him before his first game of the regular season. So it's something that we have to monitor here. He was trending upward. He was without a doubt one of the focal points of the Houston Rockets moving forward, and this could without a doubt ruin his career. And career aside, I just have tremendous empathy for the woman if what is being suggested is true, and I really hope it isn't true. I mean, this is just terrible either way, because if it is true, then Kevin Porter's a horrible human being and he's probably going to get punished significantly for this. And if it's untrue, then he's trying to be sabotaged by someone that he's in a romantic relationship with, and the stigma is going to be sticking around with him for the foreseeable future. Either way, in these scenarios, there's no winners. It's a terrible situation all around. I'm going to keep you guys updated on everything, so make sure you're subscribed and have our notifications on. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.